Misha Baryshnikov at the top of his form. In the years that Misha's been dancing in the West, he has captured the imagination and admiration of people who had never before been interested in the dance. We'll have the privilege of seeing how he does it. We'll talk to him, we'll see how he thinks about his dance and how he feels about the direction that his career is taking. And we'll watch him star in a new work, one of the first that he's commissioned as artistic director of the American Ballet Theater. The new work is called Configurations, and it has a special meaning for me because it was created by Chu Sang-go, a young choreographer from the Washington Ballet Company, where I got my start. When I learn a new dance, I always look forward to that moment when the music finally comes together with the steps. When the music is actually inside my own body and I am within the music itself. The great Irish poet William Butler Yeats said it best. "O body swayed to music, O brightening glance, how can we know the dancer from the dance?" Here's an inside look at ballet, a chance to know the dancer as he becomes the dance.
Sometimes travel more. Yeah.
Misha spends hours of every working day drilling himself in the steps and combinations of old and new ballet productions.
All right.
Like all great dancers, he's perfected his craft. As he arches his back, raises an arm, or stretches a leg, one can see the ideally developed line and extension, the speed and accuracy of his movements. This compulsion to discipline and extend himself was instilled in him by his Soviet teacher, the legendary Alexander Pushkin.
I start my training professionally in Riga in Latvia when I was 11 years old. Then, age of 15, I moved to Leningrad, and I was introduced to this famous man, a magician, Alexander Pushkin. And this man just made me as a dancer. Nothing special was about him. It was a very quiet man. Father figure for us. It was 7 or 8 students in class. Well, obviously he was the best teacher in the school, and he had the privilege to select the best material from all over the Soviet Union. He was Nureyev's teacher. His students are dancing in every big theater in the world. And I met this man, and here I was, 15 years old. He just looked at me and said, well, let's go downstairs and sort of medical center and see who are you? And just what your legs, arms, and the head about, and just look at me, and I did a few steps, and it was just like to selecting a puppy from the litter, you know, who will crawl away, who will crawl through, who will bark, who will bite. And he looked at me again and again. We spent a couple of hours just to look at each other, to talk to each other, you know, in the room like that, you know. And I said, oh, well, I can dance for you. He said, no, I don't need it. It's not a point. I said, what's the point? Take me to the class. And now, for God's sake. Inside, I said, I was sweating, I was nervous, because it was the chance of my life. And And I said, well, all right. I mean, I think it's a good deal. And he said to the lady, the school secretary, whatever she was, just, I'd like to have him in my class. And I spent with him 3 years in the school and 3 years in the company before he died.
Misha was accepted into the Leningrad-based Kirov Company in 1967. The company school where Pushkin taught preserved a meticulous classical approach to the dance that dated back to the days of the Tsars. But it was not only ballet skills that Misha learned from Pushkin.
Every day, what I think was the most amazing and the most valuable thing, what he teach me, besides all this nonsense about technique and how to dance, just to respect to the physical work, like everyday routine, sometimes boring routine, awfully boring and exhausting, because every day you feel different. Some day you have a cold, some day you have sore back, or some day you don't want to do anything, just sleep. But to go in a class and try to convince yourself you like this job, you like this job. And if you're not taking class or you're not sweating enough, you're not working enough, you start to hate yourself. You start to really feel terrible. It's a kind of guilt trip if you're not spend 3, 4, 5 hours every day in the studio. And I think that's the secret. He introduced me to the work. That means and explain how you have to work. Everything else is easy. How to do double tour. It's not a problem for any dancer. It shouldn't be any problem, I would say. I would put it that way. But to be a master of your own, doesn't matter who is coaching you, teaching you, and give you a suggestion, who is your partner, who is dancers around. You have to be a man of your own mind and know what you are doing and why you are doing it. And this man, I don't know how, and all his students are very much their own people. They're strong mentally. The dance is something else. Besides that, he was genius. As just the eye was right on. What's good, what's bad.
In 1969, the eyes of the entire dance world were on Misha. At the age of 21, he won the gold medal in the international competition in Moscow. He was a celebrity. But he began to find the Kirov repertoire rigid and restricting. Modern choreographers from the West were out of bounds. Dancers, even the stars, performed infrequently and were given few new parts. They had little chance to extend themselves within the system. In 1961, Rudolf Nureyev had left Russia. In 1970, Natalia Makarova did the same. In 1974, Mikhail Baryshnikov followed their example. While the Kirov Company was touring in Canada, he decided to remain in the West. Misha eventually chose to settle in New York.
It is just the capital of the dance in this time now, New York, and everything is here. just this amazing city, 1,000 choreographers, 1,000 companies, and millions of people who'd like to see the results. Sometimes they open New York Times, and 4 or 5 ballet companies are performing same time. And all companies had their own audience, their own followers, their own favorite critics. Ballet, it's such a word, you know. To be a classical dancer, it is just a part of be a dancer's community in New York. It is half of the city. And Broadway dancers, they are dancers. A jazz ballet, they are dancers. And most of them, they are wonderful dancers. When I'm in the audience on Broadway, I envy these people who is doing the West Side Story. I would like to be to play this part and sing that well and dance that well. And when I am somewhere downtown in experimental dance studio and somebody are doing experimental work with the clownade and singing and dancing, whatever, I would like to be in his place. It's sick. Yeah. I'd like to do everything. But, and this country has a lot of opportunities like that. And you have so many chances to express yourself. They have no time. That's my biggest problem, time.
I think the thing that so impressed me first about Misha, and always for the 10 years that I must have seen him now dance, is that the excitement. He's a very exciting personality and dancer. His technique is incredible. He just takes off and gets into the air. And he uses the air just like most of us use the earth. And when he gets in the air, he'll do the most exciting things, steps that I don't know what they're called even. It's fantastic what he does with his body up in the air. And I always think of him in the air. In my mind, I have a picture of him in the air, doing extraordinary things. But that's only one side, which you see in Corsair. You'll see that all the time. The other side of him is the melancholy side, which I see very much in his personality, just normally when you're talking to him. His face, it's a sad face. However happy he's trying to be, there's a sadness underneath him. I've always found this.
That's fabulous, like that. That's good, looking right here. Great, like that.
In the dance world and beyond, Misha is a superstar, captured by, but also employing, the publicity machine that keeps him and his company in the limelight.
Good. That's great, like that. Looking right in the camera.
In September 1980, Misha began a second career as the artistic director of the American Ballet Theater in New York. He's now responsible for running one of the largest and leading ballet companies in the world. Since joining ABT, Misha has assumed the responsibility of coaching his younger colleagues.
Point. That's fine, that's fine. Because the first was overturned, you see, and you took already. If you'll keep, you see what's happening. It's have to be here. When the minute you overturn, you're off bounds. Don't you think, Michael, I feel like he's not brushing enough. Bam! Mr. B always asks like you're playing football, just also tariam pam 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 sutanu. A little faster. Ya-da-da.
Misha is working with Peter Fonseca and Cheryl Yeager on a section of a ballet by the great choreographer George Balanchine, a work Misha has himself danced many times.
A little more jazzy, sir. All right, let's do a dash, eh?
The people ask me to run this place because they thought I can deliver the quality of the performances. I can work with dancers, and they thought I'll be a useful person.
Put her in nice fourth position.
This company is the company of very, very young dancers, probably the youngest dancers which I ever seen in any company around. And they love this job. And they are dancing from 10 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night.
Take your time now.
And when we are performing in the evening, then dancing from 10 o'clock to 11. 13 hours through, with 1 hour break.
In this position. You are cutting in front, you see? She have to change from this. Yes, Michael? Yeah. Like that. That's what's have to be. And then...
Yeah.
And then we go to the finger. And when she does last pirouette, don't do this, you know, otherwise it's just like, you know, just keep it together, all fingers, you know. And then suddenly when she do pirouette, suddenly, and you will feel much more comfortable in this. Oh, yeah. You see? And nice, that's right.
ABT is a touring company. In addition to their annual season in New York, all 90 dancers spend 18 weeks on the road each year, juggling a repertoire of 36 ballets, adjusting to new hotel rooms, new audiences, new stage conditions, and all that in 11 American cities. The dancers are likely to put in 5 or 6 hours of rehearsal, even on a day of performance. Sometimes they find the energy to celebrate afterward.
Where is everybody?
But I just got the whole story of where they are. Ripped up the leg.
On the down too.
Oh, no, money!
Keeping 90 dancers happy and motivated is also part of Misha's job.
When Baryshnikov started his directorship the beginning of last year, that was the starting of my first full year with ABT. And I was very leery that he was going to be able to be a director, a dancer, a choreographer. I thought maybe he was going to start making costumes and doing the makeup also. And I found later that in rehearsals for full ballets, he was fabulous. He got things done right away. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he kept up his dancing. And when he's in a rehearsal, people pay attention, and things get done automatically. And you need that because there's such little time for rehearsals. We have such a huge repertoire that you don't have enough time to rehearse everything fully.
Whether they're trained in Russia or America, all dancers share the same rituals and routines. But the means to achieve success may differ widely. During his early years as a dancer in Russia, Misha had a state scholarship. His living expenses were paid. The system looked after him.
The American dancers are much more independent, aggressive, because they are coming from all provinces, from East Coast, West Coast, from little studios, and trying to get a job in the best ballet theaters. And at the age of 15, they're on their own. In New York, alone, with no family, just hi, Mom, once in a while, if he has money to call long distance, or have a guts to call collect. And they have no babysitters, like in Russia. Nobody's spending hours and days and months and years to educate them. And they have to pay for these classes. And when you pay, you learn fast, I'll tell you.
Some of ABT's dancers pay to work out at a gym.
You have a chance to work on strengthening just independent muscle areas. It's so important to have your body working in alignment. And you work on independent muscle patterns. You kind of train their memory better so that when you go and you stand up in the ballet class, they remember better how to work correctly.
These exercises really help perfect a lot of the things that I do when I dance, and that's why I do them. I could take class every day and become fairly well accomplished in my art, but I wouldn't feel so strong as I do with these. This is the frosting on the cake, I guess.
Different from the first time. It's a little bit different, so listen. Okay.
ABT has made its reputation as a company with a strong classical and contemporary repertoire. Since taking over, Misha is continuing to commission more new works. He does not normally choreograph himself.
Look, it's very important.
I don't think about myself as a choreographer. I don't think I have, I would say, obvious talent to choreograph ballets. For me, music is very physical, and just I can close my eyes and just be with music. But I'm not trying to imagine dancers moving. It just doesn't work.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lift the girls up on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lift the ball.
I'm really convinced the choreography, it is the form of art which you have to be born with. Before I left Russia, I knew a lot of people who was roommates and classmates with George Balanchine. And they're saying me in Russian, like, Georgy Balanchivadze was always, I remember him, I mean, the tiny little boy, he was playing piano all the time with a hair like that, playing piano and saying, I would do a dance like that, I would do a dance like that, you know, on this music. It was his desire since he was very, very, in his choreographing from his teens, you know. You have to want to choreograph more than anything else in the world, then, and plus have obvious talent. I don't have any. I have a desire, and big desire to choreograph, but I'm always stopping myself because I can't. Simply as that.
Chu San-go is one of the first choreographers invited to make a work for Misha and the dancers of the American Ballet Theatre.
Well, it is, to commission the ballet, it is like buying a watermelon without a touching. You know, some watermelons, you like, oh, it's a good sound. That means it's really, really sweet, you know. But just to look at the watermelon doesn't give you anything yet, you know. And you're buying a known product. You don't know what would happen, you know. You have to just trust this man.
Two after. It's in a phrase of three, but let two go. I think I prefer that. So it goes like this.
Trained as a dancer in Singapore, Chu San-go is now chief choreographer of the Washington Ballet. In the past few years, he's been invited to create numerous works for leading companies in Europe and America.
Yeah, ready? Do it to that music over there.
Actually, I have seen a lot of Chu San's work in the past few years. From my point of view, he's one of the few young choreographers who has musical instinct and kind of energy, and he works so productively with such a happiness, you know. He never suffers. He is very sure what he is doing.
The ballet, set to music by Samuel Barber, is created for 13 dancers, including 4 women, a principal, and 3 soloists. Today is the first day the women have worked on this section.
We're stuck together. And yeah, da, 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 arms. And then go in here and out and go. Right, so quick, Elaine. Da, 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 da. Arms and arms. And
throughout rehearsals, Chu San is helped by ballet master Terry Orr, who must learn all 13 parts. He'll be responsible for the life of the ballet after Chu San-go has moved on.
Now, by this time, I would be here, and Becky would be here. By this time, after you've done. Okay, after you've done. Now, then we do the second time. No, you've done once. Okay, and come up to about this position, we go round again. Da, da, di, da, 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 di, da, di, da, da, da. Like this, right.
He comes to the rehearsal knowing already what he would like to see it. He does his homework wonderfully. He prepares a map in his head. Some choreographers say, try something like that. And you're trying to show him variety of the steps little jump, it can be done that way, it can be that reverse, with one leg to up and down. Chu-san knows what he wants.
I'm very precise in dancing, and I like to do things as quick. I move very quickly, so that in itself influenced what on my ballets. Also, especially also in configurations that you can see that some of the movements are really sharp and very quick, and it flows a lot. And I've always liked ballet that gives a kind of a freedom of flow and freedom of design of dancers' bodies on stage, and in a way of an unexpected design.
Run maybe just a little bit more than the first time, otherwise we can't come back to the same place, yeah? Walk 1, 2, 3, hold. Ladies, go, ladies, men. Now take your time, take your time. 1, take 2, so slow, yeah. Okay. One, 2, 3. Straight up, body forward. Di-da-ya. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ram ba da 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 ya da 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 ya ba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Mariana, where were you? Where were you?
Principal ballerina Mariana Tchaikovsky is Misha's frequent dance partner. At this point in rehearsal, the dancers are still struggling to sort out their stage positions.
You're waiting for somebody? Yeah, they have to look up for you because there's no way that you're going to look up. It's much easier than you having to look like this. They have to look up, they just like, you don't have to go for it. They have to look up for you. You're a principal, you don't look up for the corps. Let them look up. Gentlemen, you know, before Mariana comes on, she's not going to look up for you. You have to look up for her, yeah? You have to look up for her.
When I'm a dancer, I'm just his instrument. And if choreographer are not asking for a suggestion, you shouldn't give him any.
Basically, I based the ballet is based on classical technique, very classical technique that they do every day in class, and they have to be very good at that technique to do this.
Yeah.
But the upper body kinds of flow with more freedom than, let's say, in Swanvik, in the classical ballet.
Good.
Chu San-go's movement is an extension of your classical technique, but it is the use of his upper body more than what the legs and feet are doing that is so interesting. And his sense of musicality also, the way he brings the music alive with his movement. It's hard to describe because what I love about watching Chu San-go is I watch him and I feel like he's creating right at the moment. He hears the music and he starts dancing and he moves and his body just moves in wonderful ways, and you look at that and I find I can sort of imitate him, but the minute he's not there in front of me, I just feel completely lost.
4, 5. 5.
I feel in contemporary works in Chu San-go's ballet very much so. He choreographs, but he also leaves you that little bit of freedom to interpret it. Whereas in classical works, a lot of the choreography is very set.
Okay.
And, you know, it's something from your inside that you bring to that may make it different or special. But as far as the basic steps, they are set, and you have to do them as correctly as possible.
And step, step, D. Right, 2, 3. Bum, with a piano. Bum, bum.
For Mariana Cherkassky and the other classically trained dancers, Configurations is a long way from Swan Lake. And so is the music. Chu San-go has set his ballet to the piano concerto by Samuel Barber. Barber wrote the concerto in 1961, specifically for the American pianist John Browning.
Mr. Barber wanted to write a virtuoso concerto in the late 19th century style. And I think any pianist who has tried to play it realizes how difficult it is. And it's not only difficult technically for the pianist, but it's very difficult for the orchestra and very difficult to put the two together.
Browning worked closely with Barber while the music was being written, and he's delighted to be present at the creation of the dance as well. He knows firsthand the problems posed by the score.
He had heard me play a work of Debussy, a prelude called Les Fées sont d'exquises danseuses. He was very fascinated with the sound, so he wrote It's a nightmare to remember, and it's terribly difficult to play, and after 400 performances, it never gets easier.
The mood of the Barber concerto changes rapidly, as does the rhythm.
When you stop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 2, Charlie go on 3, 4, 5.
Dance music usually has a steady pulse. Waltz time or march time, 3 or 4 beats to the measure. It's regularly repetitive, like clockwork. But Barber's music constantly breaks these patterns.
1, 2, 3.
Pianist Randall Baer helps the dancers count out its irregular beat.
5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, this is the 10th day, and we have done really quite a bit, and I think all of us are really enjoying what we're doing, and that's a very good feedback from the dancers. The dancers do play a big part in the creation of the ballet. You know, I don't think they should be spoon-fed with all the steps. I think they should, when you do something, they must give you a kind of energy that pushes you along, and you have to provide the energy to pull them together and along with you. I think it's a kind of a interplay between you, the choreographer, and the dancers, which I find very important, and that kind of sparks creativity on my part.
Yeah. Dee da 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 da. Yeah. Dee ya ba. Dee ya ba ba. Now it's okay. 1. You have to do like an entrelace, so you have to change.
Sometimes we do a lift or a certain turn and things, and sometimes they fall out of it in a way that is natural to them, which I haven't thought of. I only have thought of until that that particular point, and then they do something, and I thought, wow, that's a very nice way of getting out of that, and it looks very natural. And for example, yesterday, in a filming session, we were doing this second movement with Misha and Mariana. She actually fell off him, not badly, but just a slip, and without the slip, the movement and the way she did it was so beautiful that I kept it in, but without the falling off, but just the movement into the next section.
1, 2.
I think that,
Just don't think, just throw and I'll slide in.
but the thing is, he wants us to be up there for a second, and if I'm already changing the sleigh,
Then you just come down. It's not what he wants. You just sweep the legs and go down on it. No, you forgot to stay on.
Okay, can we take that just a little higher?
I mean, you can see if that looks,
It's really very purely just dancing. Although some of my other ballets, although overall abstract, there is a kind of emotion underlying in tone, but in configurations, I'm not suggesting anything. It's just dancing, different forms, different structural changes to the music, complementing the musical changes. It has been said that it was Oriental. And especially the arm movement is, I would say, it's much freer. And maybe it is Oriental, subconsciously, but I don't try to make it. You know, I think if you try to make something, then it will turn out to be a phony mixture.
Music is physical. It is our job to give you physical motion, whether we do it in music or in dance. Ballet makes very good sense in that concept that it is simply one further physical approach to an art which is already physical. When Chusango did the choreography for the first movement cadenza, which Baryshnikov dances alone, then at the end of the cadenza, when I have the scale passage going out, he has all the other dancers coming on stage, whirling. It's a marvelous way of getting back into the idea of the pianist again with orchestra. So that, in a sense, that scale passage will remind me from now on of that idea of the solo dance is finished and suddenly the entire company is coming on stage to participate in the group event again.
And 1.
I was very impressed with Chusango's treatment of the second subject of the first movement. The leaps in the melody are perfectly executed choreographically with the danseur lifting the ballerina very high.
7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I hadn't thought of it in terms of ballet, but now that I've seen it, it makes very good sense to do it that way. So again, I will not be able to play that melody without thinking of a lift on stage.
3 days to go before the world premiere of Configurations.
Is this the half-inch pipe job?
Yeah.
At the last moment, with the theater almost dressed, problems arise. Misha has injured his ankle. He must sit out rehearsals until the doctor gives him the all clear.
Patrick, too quick on 3, 4.
Misha's injury is not the only problem. After 6 weeks' rehearsals, the dancers are still struggling with some sections of the dance.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can't count, listen to the music. If you don't listen to music, count. Don't forget now this thing. We've been going through this almost every other day.
Well, we have finished all of the sections that we need to learn. He's done all the choreography. We now have to figure out our spacing, if everyone is doing the right arms, if everyone knows the timing, knows the music, knows all the counts. And this is the hard part. And he's very nervous about this because everyone can just dance out when they've learned the choreography. But now that we have to clean up, we're finding a lot more things wrong with it. And the performances are coming up so soon that everyone's getting very nervous, and that doesn't help at all in the rehearsals. Everyone has to stay very calm.
No?
Okay. It is pre-premiere rush, kind of stomach getting cold, you know, this feeling, kind of butterflies in the stomach. And, but that's what life about in the theater. It's a wonderful gamble. It's much more exciting than playing money. And I think company in very good shape now. They really, these people loves to dance. They like dancing. Dancing, it's our life.
3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and 5.
I danced once when I was dancing in my old days on a broken ankle. And I didn't even know it until an hour after the curtain came down.
This happened to me once in Australia. I did Don Quixote in the coda. I just twist completely. I came from big foyer and the all left hand come by the way. Like that. I jump up and I just walk around the stage, quite in stress completely. And it finished coda. And I think I danced with Natasha. And she started her coda, and I'm looking at my leg. It's just smooth like that. And I said, something is wrong.
You couldn't have gained weight that quick.
But her coda is almost over. And I have to do grand pirouette on the left leg. And
what did you do? You had to change the choreography.
I started to do the right leg. And I finished my pirouette, and the last pirouette, she came in the center, the lift, last pose, and then curtain went down and I fainted.
You waited till it went down?
I don't know, just I fainted. I didn't remember anything. And just woke up in my dressing room. It was I torn our ligaments. It was broken in 3 places.
Misha.
Right there.
How long did you have to stay off it after that happened?
Quite a few weeks.
Is it the same ankle?
Yeah. Well, I am broken all over. I'm like a professional athlete, you know, like football player.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal for dancers, you know.
It will look terrible when the photo comes up in ballet news. It's American Ballet Theater with white shoes and blue
Well,
ties.
just put them down, and I'll just go through them as fast as I can
get into your
But
things.
who is soloist? Put soloist here.
We're all core. These are all core.
All core.
I had to go over yesterday to Joffrey to do that rehearsal. Oh, I think ballet theater could do that ballet so well.
Oh, those are core. These are
These
core.
are
Oh, they're core?
Aren't they?
Let me do yours.
Redo those. Barbara, the belts go inside.
Let me see.
Yeah, I've got mine wrong.
That shoe man.
Day at the ballet. What a day at the ballet.
Shoulder is funny, you know, you tell us after.
Those are gorgeous.
How is it?
Feels good? Yeah,
Oh,
It's just awful to put on, but it's
beautiful.
Ready to go?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good weekend.
On stage, gentlemen.
No, Barbara. Too far down.
No, but
On stage, Paul. On stage, please.
Kultur is the first and only video cassette company dedicated to the performing arts. Watch Rubinstein performing Chopin, Heifetz's inspiring interpretation of Brahms, thrill to the Bolshoi and the world's greatest ballets, operas, and symphonies. Stars like Callas, Baryshnikov, Domingo, Nureyev, and many, many more. For more information or to order, call toll-free 1-800-4-KULTUR. And now, a special preview of our programs. Remember, Kultur, they keep the arts alive.